idea for a similar kind of mural happening in Merthyr. Anybody been to Merthyr here and lived? Yeah. And you know the big Trago Mills, the mock castle around, yeah. And the owner is a kipper. For years it was just fencing basically over an old brickworks, and they used to put all these UKIP posters up by there. So that comes into the poem. Anonymous Bosch. When Baxi come to Merthyr, nobody believed it was him. Why would he come here when he done patrol but last year? It was a picture of a huge pigeon cacking on this grey pointy tower. A bird with attitude flown straight from a bus station. It was on a wall up Swansea Road on the way to Trago. Perfectly picked so people knew. It caused a right commotion. Thousands visited, took selfies. Council done fuck all as always. It was on the news on the front page of a Merthyr. One landowner said the wall was his, but a council claimed it, put a screen up and fencing, CCTV and everything. To this local graffiti artist, said he'd done it. Anonymous Bosch, he called himself. Then nobody give a toss. Council withdrew, telling disappeared. It's still there, just as clear. Owner of Trago wants it covered up. Filthy, disgusting, muck. Okay. Today, on a bench in a precinct, Imminent, 2 ants, sitting there in the rain like they was underwater. On their heads, they wore 2 hats of large tropical fish, like Finding Nemo tributes. One striped and yellow, the other red and flash, and nobody blinked or really stared. Their fish wobbled back and forth in the water, falling rare this summer. Not sombreros, or chickens, or dragons, for once. Crazy, colourful couple on a grey valley's day, as we drip and sop our way between shop and shop. Their 2 ants are swimming into the tanks of our heads, round and round and round. Festival. It was like, I don't know what's the place called. It's in front of the City Hall. Is there a name for that park? I don't even know. City Hall Park or something like that.
Gorsedd Garden.
Not sure. Pardon?
Gorsedd.
Yes, Gorsedd Gardens. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. That was it. So Idris at the Summer of Smiles. 2 alpacas posed as unicorns. 3 deer and a light spelling boof do tap dancing and improvise their stag-like scatting. Pantomime dames with blow-up chickens are chuckle madams. Somebody cycles disco and bubbles. Tin man and woman talk kazoo. Kangaroos on stilts fail Oz accents. Meanwhile, Idris Bach is pursuing stray balls from homemade games, throwing a rugby one through a tyre, patting a while for the drum teacher, then jump, jump along the soft circuit, perpetual wheels in his head, wide-eyed from tent to tent. In the summer of smiles, he gives one to every person freely. Never in front of a glitter wall marked Gwenny. Gwenny smiling in Welsh.
Wellfield Road today. Then I realized you had sent me this invitation. But while I was here processing my thoughts, Ryan and my entourage walked in, and I've not stopped thinking about ducks. Because Louise is not allowed to go to California. She's been banned for fighting. Thank you very much, Mula. Much appreciated. The first poem I'm going to read is called Zuguruna. And it is this phenomenon where even if you place a bird in a cage and the time comes for it to migrate, it does all of these rituals. Silence as morning sun uncovers her beauty. Trees swaying from side to side. Her black feathers glitter. Smiles despite wound on her left ankle. Moving slowly, peering, as if recalling a distant memory. Others dance around an old cedar tree. Outside, some played hide and seek with leaves. Eyes wandering the distant slope of their temporary homes. Fixing plumes as if an au revoir, a goldfinch stretches, a seasoned boxer, preparing for battles against the tides. It digs for seeds. Last supper, Some gather by the fireside, clinging on the wings of fireflies, flashing their buttocks as guides. A mountain goat regurgitates dreamily. Small blackbird jumps up and down on one spot and invocations. Swallows, like old Cold War spies, peeping through rocks, cracks, waiting for departure. Thank you very much. And the second piece I'm going to write, this was a commissioned poem by the Welsh government. And they wanted me to write about celebrating the centenary of the First World War. And it coincided with when I visited the residence of the Welsh poet Hedwin. And I liked Hedwin very much. However, as a Cameroonian, I had to challenge the narrative, because whereas the German war machine was raging in Europe in 1914, from 1884 to 1914, the German war machine was raging in Cameroon. So I could not write a piece about Hedwin without complimenting the Cameroonian heroes who fought against the German war machine. So heroes for Ellis H. Evans, the Shepherd War poet, Hedwin. Many months ago, before I was born, a story was told of a great king called Kuva. With tears in his eyes, Kuva invoked ancient spirits. They heard his voice, his lamentation. He came singing, Jembe kumbi, erewa etongi ni maongo. Wana wanjume rawe ya iwone jume emuka. With spirits, Kuva built a wall, a cutter. Outside the cutter, German war machine raged. Many moons ago, before morning breeze greeted my face, a war was fought in a distant land. It was, as Wilfred Owen said, dim through the misty panes and thick green lights and under a green sea, that old lie, Dolce et decorum est, pro patria mori. It is a wonderful thing to die for one's fatherland. In droves they died, Hedwin went, a journey of no return. Beyond the horizon, young boys, young girls quaking in their boots of what might or might not come from behind the wall. Mothers dressed in sackcloth, picking empty bullet shells in reverse. In this journey, in this war, only maggots survive. Many moons ago, tales were told of soldiers dead and buried in distant lands, souls roaming, craving for that one last journey home. Hedwin was there, lost. They found them dead at dawn, bodies littered here and there, holes on their helmets. One soldier, eyes open, as if following the path of his death. In his right hand was a note that said, Jembe kumbi, erewa etongi, etongi ndi maongo. Wana wanjume rawe ya ebone jume muka, jatande ano mavani. Thank you very much. English is not my first language. French is not my first language. So all the languages that I speak are a fragment of who I am. I can Sharia come right now, that is also a fragment of who I am. But the language that I speak is Bakwiri, my mother tongue. And so when I was asked to write this poem through the language prism, I decided to write this poem, and it's called Evonda. Evonda means time. Ono wandingundu, malua aindendo yondo. Ono wandingundu, malua aindendo yondo. Endlessly lost, placing ribbons on our foreheads, portals into fairy lands. Upon our return, we speak in tongues. They place us in asylums, junctions and crossing, mentioned in our stories of transitions, a union of Mbori Korusin, Iruki Imuka, Iruki Imuka. From this cell, watching, trees falling, ants holding their heads as if praying, bugs and spiders clapping, woodpeckers diving deep on their beaks, tadpoles bleeding, and beyond the greenery of Abetawe, rabbits playing with their nuts. Oh no, Wandingundu, Maliwa and Ndoyondo, flowing down hills, frogs croaking, mating lizards' heads shaking, starlings zigzagging, rhyming, feeding on sky's piteous offering, on a brown leaf, chameleon camouflaging, twisting tongue enticing, a mosquito dying, fate sealed sadly. Ono and Ngundu, Maliwa and Ndoyondo. Thank you very much.
To jump up and land down is simple. To jump down is not, but people say that. Jump down. I cannot follow this command to jump down. I cannot follow the command to jump into what would I jump? A thimble of sky? A nugget of dirt? The endless pool of light? I could jump into something unknown, be someone else, a shadow, some unknown I don't care for. I don't care to know. At this brink I do not understand and hesitate. There, confused and hovering, 1 foot in midair at the precipice, like the fool, but not like the fool, who looks up and does not see, but like me looking down on where I'm going to go if I jump down, about to fall forever and endless, the about to fall that will not happen because I do not like to fall. I do not like to fall and always wake from the about to fall, the hit and splat nightmare just before, and I am saved. The fast beating heart knows better, and that no one is saved from this, the falling from great heights, too. Magic happens through channels. There is no ordinary descent you can tune into as surely as a radio station. It travels by light, point to point to point. I cannot be turned into a cat at whim, although I've tried, and I will not be owned. 3. The child looks through the glass at the new baby she had waited and waited so long to see, the new baby she will sing all her songs to. The head nurse walks towards her and says to her mother, "Don't you know that children cannot be on the floor?" Holding the gaze of her mother, the child picks up 1 foot, then another, 1 foot, and the other, 1 foot, then the other, and turns to her mother and says, "I can't." 4. The cats guard my sleep in a line against the outside of my leg on the edge of the bed, nearest the door, just in case one of them needs to move fast in the night, lined up as a constellation of stars in descending order, like Orion's belt. They mimic my leg's shadow, my toes outstretched into the deep night. Why, with the vast comfort, the hidden and provocative other places, they could be alone or together in couplings, sudden pairings, parting of ways, the leave-takings, the recouplings, in the mock caress of cushions, hidden in secret forts, perched atop brave citadels, the lookout point for the long night wait, all the possible night changes of cats, of all the places to sleep. Why do they choose me? They dreaming with me, the endless, over-connecting rooms, with the others and me dreaming with them, the chance of capture, the chase, and their warm dish of morning milk. It is I whose legs anchor them, a still zone in the twirling cosmos, or they in their stalwart line who cast me down into the deep ocean of stars that is night, and do they anchor me? 5. In this night, tonight, I could jump into the unknown and become someone else's shadow, and be at once as one, me and not me, and be, for just one moment, infinity. This next one is short. It's called The Air of Idea. To remain silent is to be riddled by thought, marked by the desire to speak, to let it in human form, the great elongated exhale of idea, taking form as matter in action, the heated energy of shape that words take. I will construct thought as the monuments of my being. I will instruct the hazel wand, the extension of my body in human form to lightly play across the air before me, descending, describing me as form, chasing down the wind hurried ahead of me, now dancing and joyous, preparing me for this path. I will walk to recreate the magic of idea to idea to idea of me receiving and me extending and traveling with this as the carrier from the source to the source to the source to pass on to you as air touching which touches you gently. I am safe, protected, moving in the air of idea. And one more. This one's called This Bridge Our Back. This is about strength and solidarity. So, anyhow. Under the cover of darkness, through the transmission of light, we come into existence in being we love. It's not the world of our parents, not the world that we knew. It is not the world of the ancient ones, not the world as it was. It is a world which we changed over and over again for our self-interest, from our curiosity, our wonder, our awe, trying to understand in pieces, bit by bit, how the whole worked, and bit by bit, we tinkered, analyzed, took it apart, examining the little pieces that make up the whole. And we separated pieces from the whole, but what was, we take it apart, reassemble like toys the tightly knit weave of life that was, the pieces missing, changed, never to be put back together as the all and everything that was. We let in the light to see better, to understand, not understanding the many dark recesses, meant to remain in shadow, hidden, to be not revealed, but as the deep source, the protected well of origin that we muddied with the heavy, deliberate intent of knowledge that we lay claim to, as if God we are not. And we altered that which only could be known, only could remain and thrive as entity, as whole, and the it is, this, torn asunder, nature altered nature that is now altering us. Under the pressure of love, we span the cosmos. Under the moonlit sky, we traverse this night sky, dark or moonlit, the evening star above to light the way, our body, the blanket of clouds, protective we watch, and on earth, down into the earth, the pylons of us, feet planted, the splayed stance, our strength, the back, strong and upright, holding forth, holding up, rooted and strong, we support the span, that which, coming up from the depth of earth, all that travels across us, we hold up all that walks, each that walks this path, each foot to fall where it may, crossing through these veils, the networks of sheer light which travels the threads of energy as they pulsate and hum the nets below to catch whoever or whatever falls, the threads, webs of energy through these veils, the mists that shroud the hidden, the pockets, the valleys of ancient realms, and across this reach, and which spans each crevice, each furrow, the gaping gulf of what lies below, we the collective of those. Us, the bridge, spanning the distances, traversing difference, calling to, awaiting all travelers, you to cross the us, the we which are awaiting you to travel across this bridge, our backs. That's all from me.
I thought, because of the literary event, I thought I'd wear my favourite my t-shirt. I've got my favourite dictionary definition. Can you read it all right? I mean, this is from the Collins Dictionary, which I just can't read with these glasses. This is the Collins Dictionary definition of the word salty, which is an exclamation of satisfaction, stroke, approval, etc., and possessing the desired recreational drugs. And if I ever met that guy, I want to shake his hand. I think that's one of the greatest dictionary definitions ever. Let him go.
You're not sorted,
anyway, right, I've got to get my glasses. I'm going to start reading glasses. Wearing reading glasses the last couple of years. Right. Do you know what? I hardly even write poetry anymore. But this is one that is relatively recent. And this one is called It's taken from a website called Viral Zone. Okay, this one is called All Viruses Matter. Because I just think there's a particular virus that's been getting a bit of excessive publicity in recent months or years. So this is All Viruses Matter, an A to Z with one glaring omission. Australian, some of these might be a bit tricky to read actually. Australian bat lysovirus, Barmer forest virus, Coxsackie virus.
I got that.
H virus, Ebola virus, DB virus C, human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, influenza B virus, JC polymaravirus, Kungin virus, Lordsdale virus, measles virus, New York virus, Orf virus, polio virus, rubella virus, the Southampton virus, tick-borne Powassan virus, Ukanani virus, vesicular stomatitis, Western equine encephalitis virus, yellow fever virus, and the Zika virus. So, I mean, just in case you're not sick of viruses already, well, I'm sure you probably are. But anyway, and this next one, this is the very last one in this little book that I did a couple of years ago. It was again sort of compilation, but this is a new one. But this one it does take forever to read. So actually, I might just cut bits of it out. But this is, I mean, right. This one I wrote it while I was in hospital. It was a nurse. She was pregnant, and we had this idea, right, that she could name a baby after a drug. Right. So this is part of naming a baby after a drug. Olanzapine Hughes, Depakote Hughes, Lithium Hughes, Diazepam Hughes, Droperidol Hughes. I missed that one out. Hexamine Hughes, Ostridiol Hughes, Ibuprofen Hughes, Canceriol Hughes. I'll skip through a few. Triple Hughes, Orap Hughes, Opium Hughes, Olanzapine Hughes, Colatine Hughes, Hammerin Hughes, Betadine Hughes, T-Gel Hughes, Ostrich Hughes, Control Hughes, Accuphase Hughes, Volumatic Hughes, anything ring a bell? Droperidol Hughes, Vixen Hughes, Luminol Hughes, Nicorette Hughes, Gin and Tonic Hughes, Parvadel Hughes, Alcohol Hughes, Marlboro Hughes, Lucky Strike Hughes, Cocaine Hughes, Woman Hughes, Blue Tack Hughes, Benzoic Acid Hughes, Modicate, Concentrate Hughes, Stewie Hughes, Laxative Hughes, Lithium Hughes, Triple Hughes, Gluey Hughes, Amanews Hughes, Stuprin Hughes, Stuprin Forte Hughes, Evelyn Hughes, Simba Hughes, Needle Hughes, Kit Kat Hughes, Sexy Hughes, Air Hughes, Daft Punk Hughes, Underworld Hughes, Monixidil Hughes, Osric Tentacles Hughes, New Hughes, Newly Born Hughes, Older Hughes, Grown Up Hughes, Naked Hughes, Good Boy Hughes, Bad Boy Hughes, Forgetful Hughes, Lost the Plot Hughes, Crazy Hughes, Crazy Horse Hughes, Horse Hughes, Nay, Carl Hughes, Toprenol Hughes, Codeine Hughes, 5 to 1 Hughes, Odds on Hughes, Simple Lictors Hughes, Voltex Hughes, Appetite Suppressant Hughes, Doc Foreign Hughes, Diazepam Hughes, Nearly There Hughes, Purgatrol Hughes, Felicity Hughes, Driptal Hughes, Dippy Hughes, Dopey Hughes, Old News Hughes, New News Hughes, Daddy Hughes, Daddy Longlegs Hughes, Alexex Hughes, Alex Hughes, LSD Hughes, Peptide Hughes, Alcadonna Hughes, Aspirin Hughes, and Accuphase Monkey Hughes.
Which name did you choose?
Actually,
but I just want to read a couple of his. And one of them's in this brilliant book that Mike produced last year. Thank you very much for, well, it's Culture Matters, but you're very much involved in that, weren't you? And kindly he, there were 3 poems published in here. And I will just read put this close, it's getting on my nerves already. And this one is kind of quite apt, I guess. It's called Many for War. The patients are lined up on hospital trolleys. They're waiting for 10 hours or more. But put down Iraq for another 6 billion, they'll always find many for war. The schools are shambles. There aren't enough textbooks. The damp's coming up through the floor. But stack up the cluster bombs. Stack up the cluster bombs. Target the missiles. There's no end of many for war. We can't pay the nurses half what they're asking. They're stroppy, then shun the door. Just make sure there's a smile on the face of George W. by giving him money for war. The dentists go private, our molars go rotten, the trains are a joke, it's a bore. But so long as the profiteers make a good killing, you'll find that there's money for war. We know what the future holds, pain and frustration. Know this and know that, it's the law. And most certain of all is the truth beyond telling, there'll always be money for war. Thank you. This is another one by my father called What Would Dylan Be Writing? It's quite a short poem. I wonder what Dylan would be writing if he hadn't drunk those 17 straight whiskies in New York. He'd have been right out of fashion. All those long, clever poems no one understands. It's my 90th year to heaven. Imagine it. Buy the book and a pint, shut him up. But then, he'd have left long ago, and Caitlin would have left him. She'd have found someone else when his winkle stopped winkling. You did the right thing, Dylan. You died. You became a legend. And what of us? What are we? Heirs to Dylan's tradition? Oh, we fuck. We are the same as poets always were. Egoistic, quarrelsome, jealous, rude, a total waste of space. Just like him. And then on the theme of dialect poetry, I'm going to read one. I have got a Cardiff accent anyway, but I will be exaggerating a little bit more. And then this one's about Cardiff Town, and it's called In Love. Like the castle's great and all that, no denying, and the arcades are unique. Important part of our heritage and history. I mean, the Royal was built on slums, demolished special. Not being funny, but them families must have been gutted. Still, no lion is dead pretty in love. And the market's hardly changed. So Sparks are massive now. They had a store there originally, like, you know. And the docks, bay, well, I never very glam. And at least the ship's still open. Know what I mean? But I tells you what, hang on a sec. I'll be there in a minute. Sorry, Drive, the old man. Where was I to? Yeah, right. Best thing about this place is the accent. I means it. I loves that Cardiff twang I do's. So lush. My mum hated it though.
It's so wonderful to be back in this environment again. Like a year ago, I didn't think it was going to happen. So I was being so excited and overwhelmed just to see everybody, and I just think everybody's been putting their best foot forward this evening. It's wonderful and a lovely venue as well. So thank you so much. I saw the list of poets and I was going to read something with a Latin title, but after your last reader, I thought, oh bugger it, I'll get my fucking dialect. So I'll start off with, actually, I've done a poem and it was published, it was taken up by the London Magazine. I had to, I thought, oh, I'll have to turn it into page poetry a little bit now, but what I did is, I think it worked out better, to be honest with you, but it started off as a poem called Rude Boy Ruminations, and I turned it into The Wasted Place. Now, Mike, you've always been an inspiration for my dialect poetry and my work, and you're from the Rhondda Valley, but I'm from the Rumney Valley, and I'm from a council estate called Gwairaka. So, otherwise known as The Rock. And we were the Raka Posse, or the Rock Girls. So, I'll read this one first, just to give you some kind of context, and then I'll quickly hurry up with a very quick dialect poem, because I know there's other readers to go after me. The Wasted Place. Slag, spoil, seals his pebble dash prison, once built to ensnare his grandad, a worker who'd slog to make his country great, to give his kids the chance he never had. The Wasted Place, a law unto itself, one way in and one way out, damage control, made to contain the blue bloodthirsty grassroots masses, anti-fascists, and now a ghetto for the wasted offspring. Lost streets veined with cryptic clues, tales of change hide in plain sight. Great expectations, a shit school book, but he knows of hard times, and the Dickens Court flats where he wastes his place, saving face, fading race, shot blind, his mind in concrete, a graffiti graveyard scratched with the rude boy tags who had lost before they were even born. He waits for his go on the circulating bong as Tupac's truths beat his box. This brother from another mother feeds his need to be free. All eyes on me. He exhales smoke, and his Reebok sole slips from the grime stripe printed on the wall. His beliefs in fog and clog. Then he leaps over the empty flagons, past the inky arms of dragons, through blown spew chunks. A coward dies 1,000 times, a soldier only once. And then, I don't know what to do now. I'll do stuff that Mike, you never published, so I never read. I'll get a female perspective actually tonight. So this one, and I haven't read this one often, I always read the ones that, like I said, have been published and that people like. So this one's called, oh, bloody hell, I can find her. Oh, shit, sorry. A Social Call. A social call. That stuck-up bitch. Who the fuck does she think she is? Coming in here, nosing about, trying to find something wrong with my kids. Drugs? Where the fuck did she get that from? That nosy cow from next door, always watching over the fence, asking if the kids are alright. My fucking kids are alright, man. Just leave us alone. If I couldn't look after them, I wouldn't have fucking had them, would I? I mean, what's she coming in here for? What's she coming here for? That bitch from over the road leaves her kids in the garden when she goes for a pint. I've seen them clutched up in the coal shed with the dogs. Why isn't she over there instead? They just don't like us because we're a hard family, singling us out because we got a reputation. My kids are just as good as anyone else's. I mean, where's her qualifications? She's on a fucking placement for college. Alright, for some mind, I haven't got kids of her own. She's not from here. If she did, she'd know how bloody hard it is, especially up here. Don't even know what she's talking about. She haven't got a fucking clue. I'm a good mother, doing my best, considering.
I feel a bit out of place because everyone else is reading his poetry. I'm not poetry. I haven't got anything new. I'm just going to read a bit from my book, if that's okay. So, if I can see it. Basically, the book is based on the story of my great-grandparents. She was a second-generation Irish woman, and he was a ship's cook from Barbados. And the bit I'm going to read is basically in the 19th century, black men couldn't get jobs on land, so he was forced to go, even after he had children, a family, he was forced to go to sea for years and years and years. He's just come back. In the meantime, she has she's running a sweet shop with the help of a benefactor who's asked them to a dinner party. One thing to say is Samuel, my great-grandfather, had a Bayesian accent. I am not going to attempt a Bayesian accent, you're glad to know. So you'll just have to imagine it in your head. I really hope I can see it really dark. And so it was, on a warm summer evening, that Mr. and Mrs. Jordan, dressed in their best clothes, and took a cab across town to a large house overlooking a lake. They were shown into a sumptuous drawing room where Mr. Laird, an oversized man with a veiny face and eyes, introduced them to the rest of the guests. This is Mrs. Ellen Jordan, the proprietor of a confectionery shop, and her husband Samuel. The guests smiled and nodded and stared, and then turned their backs, made surprised faces at one another, and resumed their conversations. Oh God, thought Ellen, we shouldn't have come. A servant brought them sherry in little cut glass tumblers. The other guests kept glancing at them curiously, but didn't come near, and Ellen stayed close to Samuel, wishing she could spit the sherry out. Might as well drink vinegar, she thought. Samuel drank his in one go. Mr. Laird's voice carried over everything. When he spoke, he kept his voice raised so that everyone in the vicinity could hear his important conversation. When Ellen had first met him, she thought him charming, but now, here, showing off in his drawing room, she knew that Samuel found him vulgar. Why did we come, she wondered. She pointed out all of Mr. Laird's lovely things to Samuel, just for something to say, so they didn't stand there silent. Look at the lovely gold mirror, look at the patterns on the rug, look at... Samuel walked over to a shelf and picked something up. What is this? He asked, his voice rising above the party babble. Put it down, said Ellen, quietly, still smiling. But he didn't put it down. The guests stopped mid-conversation. The thing Samuel was holding was a ceramic penny jar in the shape of the head of a black man, eyes bulging and showing the whites, and his mouth, where the pennies were placed, was wide and red with an ugly, drooping lower lip. The base of the jar was 2 hands outstretched. The base of the jar was 2 hands outstretched, begging. Put it down, hissed Ellen again. Everyone was staring. This ugly thing, is this how you see me? Mr. Laird smiled at his guests, as someone might smile if a child was misbehaving. Is this how you see all of us, who've broken our backs to build your so-called great nation, to stuff your fatty fat faces with cheap sugar? There was a gasp from the guests. Hands flew over mouths. Stop it, whispered Ellen. Mr. Laird stepped out from the crowd of open-mouthed, thrilled guests. It's just an ornament, Sammy. It means nothing. Nothing. It means nothing. No. This is how you see people like me. And because of that, no one will give me a job. I've seen my son 3 times in 9 years. When I come home, he doesn't recognise me. Is that nothing? I work my fingers to the bone, but still you see me like this, indolent and stupid and begging for every penny. Is that nothing? For a moment, Ellen thought he would break the thing, but he put it back on its plinth gently, where it grinned its ugly, stupid grimace at the watching crowd. "Sammy, please," said Mr. Laird. "My name is Samuel." Spoken slowly with deliberation, and he turned and walked out, and Ellen, knowing they provided the entertainment for the evening, that the dinner party would be remembered as the best for many years because of them, mumbled, "I'm sorry," and ran after him. She found him leaning on a rail and staring at the lap of the lake. "How could you do that?" He turned to look at her. His face was lost in sorrow. "Come with me," he said. "Come with me on the Sunningdale. I have a child to look after." "Louis, too, of course," he said. "The boy needs to go to school. The boy needs a structured life." He looked at her then. "What has become of you? Where is my wild girl?" "I'm not a girl, I'm a woman. I have responsibilities, a business to run." "We don't belong here," he said. "We're strangers." "No, Samuel Jordan, you're the stranger. Behaving like that, he welcomed you into his home." "I'm the stranger?" "Yes." There was a long pause, and then Samuel turned and walked away.
I apologise now for anything I may say going forward, and for that I would like to thank my sponsors, Signor Pino and Signor Grigio, of which I've had at least 2 bottles of. I'm going to do 2 poems from my collection, Sodom and Tomorrow, which is available in good bookshops for about 12 quid, and from me off the back of the lorry for a tenner. The first one is going to be, I'm going to do 3 poems, 2 from the book and another one which is a song poem. First one is going to be me, a bit later on when I'm completely arsehole. It's trying to get home, it's called On the Buses. I don't need these either. That's even better. I feel younger, but you don't look 10 years younger now. A single ticket to Newport, that's all I bloody need. A single ticket to Newport, with small change I plead. A single ticket to Newport, I've got kids to feed. A single ticket to Newport, get flirty and I'll breed. A single ticket to Newport, hair that does recede. A single ticket to Newport, cut me and I'll bleed. A single ticket to Newport, aggression fueled by speed. A single ticket to Newport, anxiety is freed. A single ticket to Newport, I'll follow any lead. A single ticket to Newport, oh, come on fucking driver! A single ticket to Newport, book no change from a fiver! A single ticket to Newport, for your breath mixed with saliva. A single ticket to Newport, I ain't no duck and diver. A single ticket to Newport, look mate, I'm a survivor. You might need to pick those glasses up.
There's a bus driver here, mate.
He knows my saliva already. The next poem is about unrequited love, or unrequited love in my. But it reminds me of a badge I used to wear when I was in my teens, which so sex appeal. Please give generously. It goes something like this. Sometimes I look at you and think, just dreaming really. Then I listen and start to sink. When you pour out your troubles, I want to drink your heart. But that's kept locked away with all the special things for special occasions, like the silverware and crockery. Not for me. I'm the invisible man in your estimation, but I'm real and I'm here and I care. When things go right, you run straight past me to greet a lover. But when things go wrong and there is no other, you can find me tired and alone. The remote console. The next one is a pandemic poem, which is the final one. It is about those wonderfully generous people who at the start of the pandemic bought themselves a packet of disposable face masks. That's a different poet. If you get and then wore the same fucking mask for the entire bloody pandemic. I have to sort of apologise for two of my heroes with this poem. The first one is Percy Bysshe Shelley for the title. The second one is the Beatles, and you'll find that one out later. This poem is called The Mask of Ignominy. He's a real disposer mask, sticking to his one-use task, but his dirt-encrusted mask is fooling nobody. Doesn't have a bloody clue. Face mask is a COVID zoo. He is not a bit like you or I. Disposer mask man, please listen. There's an elastic earpiece missing. Disposer mask man, opprobrium is what you command. Above the mask of protruding snouts, will you shop with your dick hanging out? This dirt-encrusted mask is fooling nobody. Now there is from his nose a greenish dew. Now the mask is a COVID stew. He is not a bit like you or I. Disposer mask man, please listen. We don't like masks that listen. Just use, don't be so dense, just use good sense by a reusable mate. He's a real disposer mask, sticking to his one-use task. But his dirt-encrusted mask is fooling nobody. And his dirt-encrusted mask is fooling nobody. Air guitar, boom boom. Dirt-encrusted mask is fooling nobody. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, and next up is Taz Rahman, who takes a great photograph, does a great interview, and also great poet. Thanks, Taz.
Fellow dragging the tone down in reading two quite serious poems, but has to be done. The first one is called Linger. It's about a man who has been looking at the same Cardiff street through the same window over many years. A spider crawls through the mornings, marinades a leery play. I watch, I sip tea, get undressed for the day to be. Up above, other insects chide, squirm, Bhagwan Ishwarala. Cobwebs adopt seasons, swaddle love, rattle eyeballs, shield the jawline. Clouds blow smoke, grind follies, seep moisture, splashes become pearls. Streams run slithery silver as lines down a pane past nightfall. Lone droplets stare at the train line spilling Catay's wraith. Wagons slow jamboree attempt to fill brittle cracks. When a plunging blade rips open October, a pyre lit chews off the lone silver birch. Puddles tremble into the night sky, lips touch to close a coffin, silent, dark. I re-enter a mouth, sing heartbreaks. Our months, years of curdled dust, dead ants congealed, a weakling whispering to a fat clenching chin, sat upright, ringside on a window seat, far past ring girls reeling champs. The second poem is even darker. It's called Chocolate, and it's about racism. Combat 18, a neo-Nazi terror organisation, was founded in 1992. Its members have been suspected of being involved in a number of vicious attacks on people of colour. There have been reported deaths across UK, Germany and Canada, although most attacks have gone unreported. Once, the one to the left snapped, submerged in Cadbury's fruit and nut, fresh from the fridge. Every so often, they have to be glued back. Mr. Kocher, the dentist, said there's nothing to hold them in for good, blotting them back in the metal he had drilled. I remember his anaesthetic needle piercing the pink of the gum, a dagger easing itself back into its own sheath. The body was ready this time. I felt no pain. I have taught myself to bite with the incisors, avoid the molars. If I had the balls, I glue them back in the bathroom mirror each time they snap. If I had tears, I'd maul, save myself from the dentist chair. Pristine white, white as frost, on a punt, gliding down the river, letting the sun toast them into me. Varnished, tarnished, their darkest sheen, still white, never afraid, never be me. Down by the river, nothing cries. Hemlock, Himalayan raspberry, huddle my spot. Wild petunia spread wings, unburden, become butterflies, trample ripples on Ely. The river is a green god, sometimes brown. The fish, the mallards and I crouch all summer, all winter, suckle particles of air floating above, dangle chocolate feet in prosconesis, watch white tan, water become wine. How white cupping my chocolate hand, dragonflies on tips of ripples, precariously balanced, rise and fall. How can the minutes be stitched back to feed the skin, tell a tale? Her two-toned hair, lips awaiting a bite, I'm so hungry to bite. Tell her all, tell her why I cycle miles, sleep with the light on. What happens in dark alleys when the gods aren't watching? I free my hands of her, I free my hands of all. I disappear into the woods, to distant rivers, Badma, Megma, Jamuna, which ants carry their own to a feast, a funeral pyre to who knows where. Lit up, girls and boys walk fingers clasped past crepuscule. A sun and the moon leer above the rooftops, bodies dressed for the night, to the narrow stretch, steaming, and I now take the main road each time to reach Spa. Ribs healed, retina reattached, I can only watch through the window, sit by the river, watch bodies toast, let go of touch. Bodies winter scrubbed, toothpaste white, run to the city, cross continents, suburbs, Northcote Lane, all hours. They bite into frozen fruit and nut, never see a knife glinting, a body bouncing back and forth against the garage door, rope-a-dope, roll on ash pan until the night stills. Thank you.
Good evening. Isn't it lovely to be out and speaking our words? I'm going to read some poems based on Revelation and the apocalyptic horses. So those of you who don't know those, the red horse represents war, the pale horse pestilence, the black horse death, and then the white horse is the restoration of mankind, Jesus Christ returning. I'll read them all together as one go because I sort of blend them in. We grow the seeds and scatter the good seed on the land, and does it really matter from whom we lend a hand? The seeds are free to grow with care, and they are not meant to be laid bare to scientific perfection, only in a monetary direction. A direction that is not good for trees, a direction that maybe even kills bees, a direction that will lead to world hunger. The red, black and pale horses ride for the thunder. Thunderous clouds of hail and snows, bringing cold wherever they go, reaching to lands far and wide, going to affect many new brides. Not what they had planned for their wedding days. Psychopathic games being played, games of hunger, death and thrones, ice reaching inside to their bones, reaching the marrow, harrowing thoughts, causing divisions of all sorts, dichotomies of mind, tipping the scales away from man being kind. Tipping to fractions of slated grey, slavery to states of being not gay, slavery to hunger, thirst and no day, slavery to making no hay. Slavery riding into our day, galloping our freedoms away. Sorry, galloping our freedoms away. Where are we? Oh dear, sorry. Galloping our freedoms away. Oh, sorry. Galloping our freedoms, causing the blood to rage like the sea, burning as an ember tree, causing the charcoal to burn somewhere new, making potash a chance to renew, time to release the pure white horse, jousting with the paler horse, knocking him far off course with a new form of discourse, causing the red horse cannot fail to stumble, causing all the greed to crumble, causing the black horse to turn his back and turn around and head right back into the darkness, the density. Time to bring out the new city of gold that we have been waiting from times of old, galloping white horses, bringing the food to avoid those negative moods, making fields of darkness white like snow, placing footprints showing which way to go. Everything real is invisible. Gifts of jasper transformed from pearls, emeralds made from sapphire squared, attaining to amethyst shining like diamonds dancing delicately on water. Chalcedony waltzing with topaz, sardonyx serenading sardius, turquoise passion speaking love. Love made whole like an olivine, fulfilling, complete, like a mine of treasures with no dragon, no pirates or opposition, just understanding with reason. Chrysolite gold molten into an emerald river, flowing to a chrysoprase sea.
A couple of weeks ago, I started scribbling this poem down. Maybe 4 weeks ago, I finished it a week ago, and then the news changed about a certain situation in Afghanistan. So this is definitely the first time I've ever said it. I probably can't remember it, so I best check. So I've got it somewhere, and it's called the Blair Bush Project. I stole, you've probably heard it, but I stole the first stanza, basically. I needed it because I wanted something to sound a bit like ISIS. So it goes like this. I is a lyrical master. I must, because I asked her. We tell the story, but with some truth about Blair's life to the British youth. Because it was hi-ho silver and bombs away. The Twin Towers fall, Iraqis must pay. Women and children, one and all. Women and children, one and all. Sorry, it's coming. Women and children. I'll start. Women and children, one and all. Yippee-ki-yay, let's watch them crawl. Bush is celebrating on the White House lawn, when from underneath the ground, Osama is reborn. On a white horse, and touting a gun, he pulls the trigger, and Bush is done. Is it his double who gives a toss? Because the man on the horse just murdered Dross. Then from below the White House green rose in their thousands the Mujahideen, holding Putin's Kalashnikovs and not scared to die. It was time for the Yanks to eat Afghan pie. Then from tunnels below America's backyard came in droves Saddam's Republican Guard, and not since the Scarlets beat the All Blacks 9-3 has a Welsh Iraqi been as proud as me.